Hello and welcome back to the Enneagram video series. Today we're going to be talking with some type 9s and I cannot wait. We're going to have a good time. But before we do, I want to give you a little bit of an introduction as to what it means to be a type 9. Type 9s are called the Peacemaker and they are very harmonious people. They value harmony above almost everything else, but that can lead them to ignoring their own wants and feelings in order to keep harmony with a group or within a relationship. Type 9s are in the body or anger triad, which really surprises them when you tell them that because they don't consider themselves angry people. But what that means for them is that they feel anger or feel frustration and then they fall asleep to it when they're at unhealthy levels. And this can be engaging in a numbing activity or just generally ignoring their feelings. Type 9s are very kind and go with the flow people. They also can be quite indecisive because they fear if they rock the boat too much, other people will stop loving and appreciating them. In stress, they move towards the unhealthy aspects of the type 6. They can become worried, very wary of others, and they can really resent when people don't listen to their perspective, which can lead them to become very stubborn. They move towards the positive aspects of the type 3 in growth, and this makes them very decisive, self-starting, charismatic, and they really get to enjoy true internal peace by working through their emotions instead of becoming numb to them. Type 9s are on the top of the Enneagram, which is done very intentionally because they can see everyone else's perspective, and that makes them really excellent mediators, which they use as a tool in their life very often. So
hello to all of my 9 friends. I'm so happy to have you here today. Thank you for giving me some of your time. So let's get started.
My first question for you all is, what is your favorite part about being a type 9?
I think for me, it is a lot about being so open to everything that comes your way. And I know I've always kind of thought of myself as someone who, you know, if someone tells me something to do, I'm just going to do it because I want to make other people happy.
I would say my favorite part about being a 9 is my empathy and my ability to put myself in other people's shoes and really understand where someone else is coming from. And I can kind of do that pretty instinctually without a lot of work.
One of the strengths I see is being able to hold multiple perspectives at once. While this does render us a little indecisive at times, it is a superpower when it comes to being able to hold even conflicting perspectives. And I think one of the key things is recognizing that I can understand your perspective, even if I don't share it. I can see merit, and it makes me a very empathetic person naturally.
Yeah, completely. Okay, so then the flip side of the coin, right? What are some of the kind of frustration or pinch points that you find with being a type 9?
I think people see us as, you know, lazy and as people that don't really have, I guess, a long-term, you know, goal in life. Sometimes I feel like that's often a stereotype with type 9 because they see us as just people that do go with the flow and are open to everything and do have a lot of empathy for other people. And oftentimes we do put other people before ourselves, which is a good thing, you know, in theory, but a lot of times, you know, we forget to put ourselves first when we really need to.
The thing that has gotten me into the most trouble, I would say, throughout my life in being a type 9 is my difficulty in saying no. So just like Alyssa said, trying to make everyone happy, trying to put others' needs first, but to the detriment of my own needs.
For our sisters who are watching who might not be sure what type they are and they're trying to figure that out, what part of your type description really sold you on the fact that you are a type 9?
The name, the title, the Peacemaker, because that has been a huge facet of my personality ever since I can remember, really. My mom and my sister are both very headstrong, very stubborn people. And even when I was a little kid, I remember like getting physically in the middle of them and saying like, okay, what is this fight about? What are we arguing about? How can I make it better? How can I make everyone happy?
Once I read everything about being a 9, I was like, oh, well, that just makes perfect sense to me. That's exactly who, you know, I see myself as someone who's very, I've been described before as like mellow, as chill, as, anything like that I've always been associated with. And people do generally gravitate towards me when they need advice, when they need help, when they need, anything. And I'm happy to do it because I want them to be happy.
I'm curious, I've found that a lot of 9s typed or considered typing as 2 at some point. Is that true for you all?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I had typed myself originally as a 2. A lot of what I was socialized to be matches kind of the stereotypical behaviors kind of associated with a 2. So I always offer, for anyone's listening and kind of like, well, I test as a 2, or I like what a 2 describes, I love helping people. I always want to unpack that a little bit, that a lot of that is enculturated. So dig deeper. One of the key distinguishing factors I had to make for myself was recognizing that I serve people because I do care about them. I do genuinely, but that's not my biggest motivator. My motivator is not so that I feel loved and valued based on their need of me. It's so their needs are met, therefore they experience peace, which allows me to feel peace. But sometimes that slips over into the desire to just keep peace, which is not authentic peacekeeping. And I end up doing more harm than good in my desire to keep peace, rather than genuinely walking through conflict, which is how you make peace.
9s are sometimes said to have an inner sanctum, where they kind of go to process their own emotions and remove themselves from potential conflict. Do you all agree with that and think that you fall into that?
I think that a lot of people think I am a much quieter person than I actually am, but it's not necessarily true. It's just that I need that time to observe, to process, to really formulate my thoughts before just speaking, as like some people do.
Sometimes when I'm overstimulated and I'm in a group of people that I don't always, know everything about, or I'm not super comfortable with, I'll need to physically remove myself because I get so overstimulated in my mind about, what's everyone thinking? Is everyone okay? Is everyone having a good time? I mean, it comes a lot with anxiety. I think for me, at least, I have anxiety, and I think it's because of, the fact that I try to suppress my own needs so much to help other people.
And do you all find that you go to that place when there's conflict as well?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
I was amazed to hear that I wasn't alone in having kind of a movie playing in my head all the time. That my imagination is extremely vivid, and the imagination is this safe place where I can go and experiment and take risks and say the thing that I wished I could have said in the moment but didn't.
For Blair and Mallory, your one wing, how do you think that that impacts the way that you view the world through your 9 lens?
The one wing helps me bring order to the actual landscape of my environment. I can harness that to like get everybody on schedules, keep everybody moving forward, do project management for my work. Like I can balance a lot of things and kind of keep the training moving forward. In times of unhealth, when anxiety is more of my issue, I can become hyper focused on details, and similar to kind of the vice of a 1, get a little judgmental.
My ability to focus, if I am really zoned in on something, nothing else is happening around me. So, which is really good for when I am writing, when I'm working on a big project, but it can also be a detriment to if I need to multitask, if I get interrupted while I'm in that focus zone, it's really hard for me to get back into it.
A 9 wing 8, 9 is the peacemaker and 8 is the challenger. So that is a highly contentious combination at times, because the 9 wants peace more than anything, and the 8 is very energized by anger and conflict and wants to kind of advocate for the other side of things, isn't scared to rough things up a little bit. And so, Alyssa, you are a 9 wing 8, which I was really excited to see. So how does that impact your life.
In my mind, I'm like, oh my gosh, I just want to say this and this and this to this person. And I have so much to say to them. But then the 9 jumps in and I'm like, I can't do that. I will get so anxious if I, actually come out and say the thing that I want to say. And also, I think for me, the 8 really comes in, I guess, the form of wanting social justice a lot. And so I always speak up about that as much as I can, and do my research, learn about it, because again, when I see people or groups of people hurting, it hurts me.
So 9s have the reputation of being indecisive. So what are some strategies that you employ as type 9s in order to be more decisive?
Deadlines is my number one. If I can put it on my calendar, then I'll have a much higher success rate.
For me, I think it's not necessarily about being indecisive, but it's again about seeing everybody's side. And so you're not super sure which side to take, at least when you're working with people.
If you all don't know, there is an artist called Sleeping at Last who creates Enneagram songs, or creates one song for each type. And so I went ahead and pulled a stanza from the 9 song, and I'm going to read it to you now. And I would just love to hear what you think. If you agree, if you don't agree, if it makes you feel all the feelings, I want to hear about it. So the stanza is, a little at a time, I feel more alive. I let the scale tip and feel all of it. It's uncomfortable, but right.
Yeah, I think the line, it's uncomfortable, but right, is the one that stood out the most to me, because as Blair said, sometimes making true peace can be uncomfortable at first, and it can be difficult. And sometimes you need to work through that, that discomfort and that difficulty at first, and then everything just kind of falls into place.
When you work with other people, when you make them feel at peace, it helps me to feel at peace, like Blair was saying at the beginning. And I think that's a really important part of being a healthy 9, is understanding when to put, yourself first. I feel like the song in general is just about understanding everybody else so well that you sometimes don't understand yourself.
The idea of sleeping at last, the whole title of the collection speaks to me as someone who leads with 9, because it's this idea of, I fall asleep to myself, but is that truly peace?
So for all of our sisters who are watching who are not type 9s, I would love to hear, what is one thing that you want other people to understand about what it means to be a type 9, and how can sisters use that information to be a better friend to you?
I think for me, it is kind of about the stereotypes that come with being a type 9. We're lazy, we're unmotivated. But for me, because everything that happens around me does kind of manifest physically in my body, sometimes if I work really hard all day in class, and if I'm, helping my friends throughout the day, I'm just so exhausted and I don't want to do anything else. If you ask someone to hang out and they're like, no, I'd rather be by myself, that sounds mean. That sounds like I don't like you, which is not the case at all. It just means that I've had my people time for the day, and now I need it for myself.
I never want to seem like I don't enjoy the company of other people, because I really do. I love being around people. I love helping people with their problems and giving advice and things like that, but it is draining, and it's not personal. It's not because I don't like you or I don't want to spend time with you. I just need that alone time to recharge.
I want to redeem the word lazy. The word you'll find is sloth. And the history of that word is not necessarily laziness, or like it's falling asleep, not literally, but falling asleep to what is most important. So we can actually look very busy. Our calendars can be packed. We can be doing a lot of busy work, but it isn't the most important thing. Help us to remember what is the most important thing that we need to be attending to. And when we do voice an opinion, when we do speak conviction, believe us.
Great. So thank you for spending an afternoon with me. And yeah, just loving Sigma Kappa. Thank you so much for checking out this video in the Sigma Kappa Enneagram video series. If you want to learn more about the other types or about the Enneagram in general, make sure to check out the other videos. Bye!